Okay, now I'll give you a situation. Supposing you are Chief Secretary of Delhi. Now tell me, as far as Delhi's vulnerability and preparedness for earthquakes is concerned. So first tell me what is the vulnerability in a couple of sentences. Then what is the present preparedness? Third, as Chief Secretary, what would you do to equip it to handle earthquakes?
But a lot of feminists, they came forward and said that, word like Kanya Dan should not be used because Dan means a commodity. So if the government also comes up with the names like this, then don't you think it is actually trying to, propagate or rather popularize this whole idea about that women is seen as a commodity?
So, Madhav, your name corresponds to Lord Krishna, right?
Yes.
What is the one most important aspect of his life that you would like to imbibe? So, you come from Rajasthan.
Yes.
There is a very famous fort associated with the life of Maharana Pratap. It is very important geographically also. Which is that fort?
Rajasthan was one of the first states to implement OPS, Old Pension Scheme.
Yes, sir.
So why is it called fiscally disastrous?
Come, Madhav, come.
Good afternoon, madam. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please take a seat. Thank you.
So Madhav, how are you today?
Ma'am, I'm fine, thank you.
You're doing well?
Yeah.
When is your interview?
It is after 21st April.
Oh, very good. So you've come at a good time. And are you staying in Jaipur or are you staying here?
I'm staying in Jaipur.
You've come just for the mocks?
Yes, sir.
And how many mocks have you done?
3 mocks I have done.
Okay. You plan to do more?
Ma'am, some more mocks in the upcoming days.
Okay. All right. And what do you expect from the mocks?
Ma'am, I expect that I get some good questions and also it will increase my confidence and some communication skills and some areas that I'm lacking, I can have some guidance.
Feedback. All right. Very good. So you are fond of birding, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
So which is that bird which has the longest migration?
Ma'am, it is Godwit's. It is Arctic tern.
Yes.
It is one of the longest.
How much is it? Do
migration.
you have any idea?
Ma'am, it travels from Arctic region to Antarctic region.
Correct. Twice.
Twice. So, if we see like the...
And where does it nest?
It nests in the Arctic region. It is known as Arctic tern. So, and if we see the radius is around 3,200 kilometers, so accordingly we can
How much?
calculate. The radius of the Earth is around
70,000. It does more than 70,000 kilometers.
No, 6,386 kilometers.
In its migration.
No, I'm talking about the radius of the Earth. So,
What relevance is the radius of the Earth?
no, with the help of the radius, we can calculate the migration.
Does 70,000 plus?
7,000 plus kilometers.
Okay. Now, what is a blood diamond?
Pardon, can you please repeat the question?
What is a blood diamond? You've done geology, right? That's your
Yes,
optional.
ma'am.
So, what is a blood diamond?
Sorry, I don't know.
Okay, now I'll give you a situation. Supposing you are Chief Secretary of Delhi. Now tell me, as far as Delhi's vulnerability and preparedness for earthquakes is concerned. So first tell me what is the vulnerability in a couple of sentences. Then what is the present preparedness? Third, as Chief Secretary, what would you do to equip it to handle earthquakes?
Ma'am, vulnerability can be decided by the earthquake zoning, like the Delhi falls in the zone 4. So it is extremely vulnerable to the earthquake. And the present conditions, if we see, like there are the seismic codes that have been issued by the government, which needs to be implemented while the formation of any building, and certain awareness guidelines.
What are these codes? If you just simplify and tell us 2-3 points.
Ma'am, 2-3 points are in the seismic zones which have high vulnerability. The seismic retrofitting should be done of the structures, and in the constructions, use of dampeners and structures should be there so that if there is an earthquake, then the structure would not fall off.
Is it practically possible to do it?
Ma'am, it is practically possible.
And what is the kind of cost it will entail?
Ma'am, the cost, the exact cost I am not aware, but if we see the construction in the initial phase, if it is inculcated, then it will only cost a marginal above what is the actual cost. So with the help of some precaution, we can inculcate these things. And as a Chief Secretary, if I am posted as a Chief Secretary, then I will ensure that in the municipal area, the seismic codes are being implemented in all over the district. And also there are certain awareness programs, like while during an earthquake, what the people need to do, there shall be some mock drills that can be organized so that the awareness
Mostly
levels.
those are useless because it's the first 3 seconds and after that it's over, it's too late. If I'm on the 10th floor of a multi-story, I can do precious little. Isn't it?
Ma'am, we can like earthquake. It cannot be avoided. But the after effects and the disadvantages that the earthquake causes.
Like what
can
if
be
I'm on the 10th
reduced.
floor of a building? Then what is the precaution that I should take?
Ma'am, if you are at the 10th floor of the building, if you hear or if there is a seismic activity, you can hide underneath the table or some structure so that your body can be protected. So this is the, if you don't have time to come out of the
But on the
building.
10th floor, the danger is not from the top but to sink below.
Ma'am, if you don't have the time, then this is the only step that you can take to hide beneath a table or a bed.
So if I have a hammer, everything looks like a nail to me. All right. So what else can I do? Will you do? And so why, if they already have a code, why is it not being enforced?
Ma'am, due to lax implementation by the authorities and
But why?
ma'am, there is a profit margin that the builder use. They use suboptimal quantity of material and don't implement the proper codes. That is why to gain their
God knows
profit.
if no, they're two separate things. Suboptimal quantity of material and not implementing code are two different things. Those are techniques, and this is material, right? So, what prevents people from taking action in that matter, from enforcing it? We know that we are sitting on a powder keg. We haven't had any very big earthquake. We are lucky.
Ma'am, during the construction of the buildings, the authorities also don't care that much, so that there is.
So how will you make them care? What plan of action will you have?
Ma'am, plan of action should be according to that the authorities should strictly implement the codes.
They're not doing it. So as Chief Secretary, what will you do?
Ma'am, from the top level, I will ensure that they are proper
Tell us how,
implementation
not
is
what
done.
you will do. How will you do it?
Ma'am, it has to be done on the dual front. For example, the awareness level in the people should be increased so that they should know that whether if they are purchasing a house, that the house and the building have followed proper seismic codes and proper laws are there. And secondly, on the clearances and the issuance of clearances that any builder requires, so it must ensure that the seismic codes are there and regulatory authorities.
I'm sure they get that clearance. I'm sure that they get that clearance. Actually, whether they do it or not, one doesn't know. All the clearances they have to take, they all take on paper, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So now you're from Rajasthan. Tell me 3 women-friendly legislations which are most important for Rajasthan. In order of importance for Rajasthan.
Ma'am, first is the government have started a Kanyadan scheme.
My question was legislation,
Yes, ma'am.
not schemes. Second was, it can be national legislation, need not be state legislation, but what is important to Rajasthan?
Ma'am, first is related to the Vishaka guidelines, like the sexual.
That's a guideline.
Ma'am, an act has also been enacted to protect women
What
from
is it
harassment.
called? What is it called?
Sexual harassment at workplaces prohibition related to that act was enacted in
That's
2000,
the most important to your way of thinking.
in 2013.
That's
because-
the most important
Yes,
one.
ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, secondly, as per
And
the
how much percentage of women in the vulnerable sections will be impacted by that act?
ma'am, it is pertaining to the people or the women at the workplace. So vulnerable section.
Did you understand what I said?
Yes, ma'am, I am understanding, but it will not directly impact the vulnerable section, but only the women who are working there, who are in an organized sector.
So my question was, most important for the state, women of the state. Yes. Then next.
Ma'am, second is I can remember a state legislation act in which the government have issued that for the vulnerable section there is a policy that during their marriage, if the woman attains the age of 18 years, she will be given.
Is it legislation? It is scheme.
Ma'am, it is a legislation.
Acha. All right.
So,
What else?
some-
Next. What else?
These two I
So
can.
age at marriage is not important at all for Rajasthan.
Ma'am,
No?
it is important age of marriage.
PCPNDT is not important for Rajasthan.
Ma'am, it is important.
That's what I said.
Let's
Anyway.
skip my
Okay.
answer.
All right. Doesn't
In
matter.
fact, it's more important.
Doesn't matter. So you're an electrical engineer. So why can't we have more electrical vehicles? What are the constraints?
Ma'am, if we see the graph and the purchase of electric vehicles, right now in the four-wheeler section, only 5% of the new vehicles
Yes,
are
yes, that's what I
electric.
said. I'm asking why.
Ma'am, the main reason is if we see the price bracket, as per a latest survey, 90% of the cars that are bought in India are below the 10 lakh bracket. But the electric vehicles that are available at the minimum price is around 14 to 15 lakhs. So price is a major concern. Second is there is a anxiety issue like the range of the electric vehicle. It's not sure whether it will deliver the respected range. So people are not going with electric vehicles, and the charging infrastructure is also a problem. So these are the main three reasons
What
why.
about safety? What are the batteries?
Ma'am, if we see in the regulated sector, the companies which are pursuing the electric vehicles, they are going R&D in that, and the case of breakaway of the batteries and the fire in the batteries are only in the cases where an organized sector or a non-regulated authority is there.
There's a shortage of batteries, no?
Yes, ma'am.
So then regulated, unregulated, they'll get whatever there is. Okay. Now tell me, name about 6 CEOs of global companies who are Indians. There's a recently nominated person, and one CEO who has been nominated by the US and probably will become also.
Ma'am, recently the CEO of World Bank has been nominated by the US. He was the former CEO of MasterCard. I'm not able to remember his name.
Mr. Banga. All right, very good. And
Mr. Sundar Pichai,
which company?
Google and Alphabet, and ma'am, these two I'm only able to remember.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Madhav.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Madhav, your name corresponds to Lord Krishna, right?
Yes, sir.
What is the one most important aspect of his life that you would like to imbibe?
Sir, the most important aspect is that he gave the principle of Nishkam Karma during his Bhagavad Gita Upadesh. So also he said that the message of Karmanye Vadikaraste Ma Phaleshu Kadachan, which means that one has the right to perform his duties but not to the fruits of the action. So this I would like to imbibe.
Very good. So you are interested in birds, right?
Yes, sir.
What is the habitat of the great Indian bustard?
Sir, habitat is grassland. It is mainly habitats in the grassland ecosystem.
Where is it found in Rajasthan?
Sir, in Rajasthan it is found in 2 places. First is in the Desert National Park in the Badmer and Jaisalmer region, and another in the Sorsen in the Bara region.
Okay, okay. Are there any migratory birds found in the Bharatpur sanctuary?
Sir, there are many migratory pet birds which are found in the Bharatpur sanctuary. So usually the migration of the birds starts around October and continues till the Feb month of the next year. So the initial arrivals are the pigeons and the geese, like the grey-leg geese and the bar-headed geese. They are the first to arrive in the park, and subsequently many ducks like gadwall, pintail, pigeons, shoveler, they arrive at the park. And later the big birds like the pelicans, which are the great white pelican, rosy pelican, the Dalmatian pelican, they arrive. And apart from that, raptors are also there, which are the tawny eagle, Steppe's eagle, the Egyptian vulture. So these are the main birds which arrive.
Good, good, very good. You have your option is geology, right?
Yes, sir.
What is your understanding of the events that happened in Joshimath?
Sir, in Joshimath, there was a subsidence of land. The main reasons were that there was a committee called the Mishra Committee, which identified in 1970s that the foundation of Joshimath was a debris moraine. It was not a solid rock. So it was prone to subsidence there. And also due to tunneling, and it is a ecologically fragile zone, the Himalayan belt. So there are chances of subsidence. And the main reason is due to the anthropogenic activities like the mushrooming of the buildings on the coast, on the side of the river. So it led to the subsidence of land there.
Government has not said that it is due to tunneling or building. No study of the government has yet said that. Then how can we claim that it is only due to tunneling or man-made activity? One of the main reasons which has been identified possibly is that it's a seismically active zone also. It has many small plates which are still very active due to this. So then how do we understand that?
So recently there was a study by the Geological Survey of India, the National Remote Sensing Authority, and officials of the NDMA. They find out that the main reason was the hotel industry there. At the side of the river, there were two hotels that were banned, so that the construction was illegal there, and it led to the chances. So the main geological reason is that it was not a solid rock on which the city was there. It was a debris moraine. And subsequently, due to the anthropogenic activities, the pressure there was increasing, and there are a lot of factors that led to the subsidence of land there.
Okay. So you come from Rajasthan.
Yes, sir.
There is a very famous fort associated with the life of Maharana Pratap. It is very important geographically also. Which is that fort?
Sir, it is the Chittorgarh fort.
No, it is not Chittorgarh.
Sir, then the Kumbhalgarh fort is there.
Yeah. What is special about that fort?
Sir, if we see the Kumbhalgarh fort, it was the place where the Maharana Pratap, his birth was there, associated there. It is situated, like if we see the wall of the Kumbhalgarh fort, it is so wide that simultaneously 8 horse riders can travel over it, and it is the second largest after the Great Wall of China. So it is the main reason why it is famous.
Okay, very good. So you are an electrical engineer, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you tell me from which countries do we import coal?
Sir, the main countries I am not able to recall right now. The top countries.
Do we import coal?
Yes, sir. We are the second largest.
How much percentage of our requirements do we import?
Sir, we are the second largest importer of coal, but the percentage I am not able to.
Okay. There is a group of countries called as Lithium Triangle. Which countries are there in that triangle?
Sorry, sir, I am not aware about that one.
In which continent is that triangle located?
Sir, again, I am not aware about.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Madhav. So you're from Rajasthan.
Yes, sir.
Recently, Rajasthan government has also announced its budget.
Yes, sir.
Any key, measures which the government has taken?
Sir, the key measures are, first is there is a pension scheme that was earlier divided into various segments, like 500 rupees for a particular case and 750 rupees. So the government has raised it to 1000 rupees for all old age people. Secondly, there is a provision for the women to travel across the state. 50% of the charges will be remitted. Thirdly, for students appearing in the examinations, there will be no charges by the state roadways buses. So these are some of the major segments that I can remember.
Any inflation relief package was also given? Food kits?
Sir, there was a provision related to the agriculture in the farmers, like it is called mini beach kit in the state government's budget. So it contains some provisions how to increase the productivity of crops, that I remember, but about that I am not sure.
Rajasthan was one of the first states to implement OPS, Old Pension Scheme.
Yes, sir.
So why is it called fiscally disastrous?
Sir, it is called fiscally disastrous because it is not sustainable. For example, if we see the OPS, it is in the employees given 50% of the last withdrawn salary, and the main charges are on the fiscal deficit of it causes the fiscal deficit of the state. So it is not sustainable, that is why it is disastrous.
Okay. What do you mean by a freebie?
Sir, freebie is a term, like for example, a freebie is given which is given out of public money. A person does not pay for it, so it is called a freebie.
So what is the difference between welfareism and freebies?
So there is a minute difference. If we see welfareism, they are based on some criteria. Like welfare can be associated with the upheaval of the social economic indicators, like the free education and food initiatives. But freebies can be both. Like freebies can be based on some criteria, or they can be based on the populist measures. So freebies is a broad term, and welfare oriented measures are having some criteria or a targeting.
Which law of government of India, inherently or implicitly checks the freebies?
Sir, there is no law. For example, in the Honorable Supreme Court in the Subramaniam Balaji case said that the freebies do not amount to a corrupt activities under the section 123 of Representation of People Act, but it simultaneously issued a guideline to the Honorable election commission, which
Okay, that is different.
inculcated.
But any act which keeps the fiscal deficit in check,
Sir, FRBM Act. Yes.
so that can keep the freebies also in check.
Sir, freebies are slightly different from the fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit is a broad term which contains the expenditure and the revenue of the state, while freebies are given for
It
welfare.
can one can announce the kind of welfare policies or freebies, but it could be within the FRBM limits, right?
Yes, sir. Sir, the freebies issue is that the freebies which directly help in the upheaval of the socio-economic indicators and directly increasing the livelihood of the people, they should be given. They are a welfareist approach, but based on populist demands and not having sustainability, they should be phased out.
Okay. There's a lot of talk of saturation of government schemes. What do you mean by saturation of schemes?
Sir, if we go by the term saturation, saturation is at a point where after which the productivity or the output is not becoming so evident. So, as per the government schemes, there can be implementation issues after which the result is not seen. So that can be related to
You are
the.
taking a very wild guess.
Sir, I am taking a general guess based on the term saturation.
Okay. Uh, couple of years during the summers, we have seen many two-wheeler electrical vehicles catching fire. Why is it so?
Sir, the main reason was the thermal runaway of the batteries. So, if we see the two-wheeler industries, it is not so much regulated. Like any manufacturer in any street of the country can start manufacturing an electric vehicle with the help of a battery and a basic infrastructure. So, to increase the range, they do not follow the norms and they simultaneously pack many cells in a battery. And if there are more cells, there is more pressure, more chances of thermal runaway at high temperature. So, this is the main reason.
Okay, last question. So you are also interested in birding. Why have we seen a decline in the number of sparrows?
Sir, if we see the life cycle of a sparrow from a juvenile age, so it is usually believed that the small birds they eat grains, but it is not the case. They are fed on the insects and larvae. So the area as urbanization has increased and concretization has increased, so the natural habitat is declining. But if we see the supermarket culture is also evolving. Previously, we used to spread dals and other things on the roof of our houses. So sparrows were there. They feed on the insects and directly they were consumed by the infants. But in some areas like sabji mandis and etc., sparrows are there. But particularly in the urban areas, their number is decreasing because of the case that the sufficient feed is not available and the natural habitat there is declining.
Okay, thank you.
When ma'am asked you about the laws and all, you immediately started talking about some Kanyadan scheme. What is the Kanyadan scheme in Rajasthan?
Ma'am, Kanyadan scheme was started to reduce the child marriages there. So the government has a policy that if a girl from a weaker section, she completes the age of 18 years, the government will sponsor her marriage and give her a package of around 31,000 rupees. And for other sections which are not from weaker section, there is a provision for around 21,000 rupees. So it was launched in the budget so that the child marriages below the age of 18 years are reduced.
But a lot of feminists, they came forward and said that, word like Kanyadan should not be used because Dan means a commodity. So if the government also comes up with the names like this, then don't you think it is actually trying to, propagate or rather popularize this whole idea about that women is seen as a commodity?
Ma'am, you are right that the term Kanyadan, they are not supported by many feminists. But the basic idea of the government is to reduce the child marriages. And yes, after formation of a committee and recognizing the impact that the term is having negatively on the society, they can come up with a new name so that
They can. It's a wrong thing.
It is a
to
wrong thing
use.
to do.
Okay. You mentioned that you did something with Unnat Bharat Abhiyan. That is, you were a team leader in Unnat Bharat Abhiyan. What is this whole thing about Unnat Bharat Abhiyan? How would you explain to a person who does not know about this?
So basically, the idea of the government in Unnat Bharat Abhiyan is that the rural areas do not have any technological innovation, and there is a gap between education level there. So it was mainly formed so that the technical institutions can directly connect with the rural areas. So each technical institution was given a responsibility to adopt 5 villages for socio-economic development there. So the students there visited the villages and form a closed feedback system in which they informed about the major irregularities to the government, and simultaneously steps were taken to improve what was lacking there. So it is,
Okay, so you mean say technology and technical knowledge is very, very important.
yes.
But on the other side, we think, we hear that a lot of children, because of addiction to social media and all, are really disturbing their life, patterns or sleep patterns. Do you agree with that? And also, there is a lot of mental health issues.
Ma'am, everything has a bane and a boon. Like the pros and cons of technology is there. The technology on the one hand is bringing several advantages, like it is increasing the reach of education to the last mile, and also there are certain disadvantages. So they should be used in a controlled and regulated manner, and parents' advice should be followed by students. That should be done.
What is most important for a socialization process of a child?
The first form of socialization of a child is through the parents and family. That is the most important. And simultaneously, as the child grows up, his peers, teachers, and subsequently social media, and they all have their influence.
Okay. What was your essay about?
Essay was about birds in paradise, as it was situated in the Civilsdaily National Park. So it highlighted the importance of birds that were coming in.
And what is the importance of birds?
Ma'am, the importance of bird is that they maintain the ecological balance there. For example, the main reason of migration can be allocated that in the tropical region during the monsoon season, there is an increase in biodiversity and feed. And also in the colder areas, there is no feed available. So birds migrate to the region and they control the diversity there. So this is how the whole ecology works on a balance and equilibrium. So
Okay. Rajasthan is considered to be one of the most important tourist destination. Why?
Ma'am, Rajasthan has a significant amount of history and culture which is directly related to tourism. The government has also started policy of tourism which inculcates the desert tourism, that heritage tourism and the marriage tourism. So there are various UNESCO World Heritage sites. For example, the forts of Amer, Jaigarh, Kumbhalgarh and Chittorgarh, they are also already in the World Heritage Sites, and the UNESCO Natural Heritage Site is Civilsdaily National Park. So, and due to its culture, cuisine, and many other folk dances, so it is a center for tourism.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madhav, please wait outside. We'll just call you for feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So, Madhav, you are very young, huh? That's a good thing.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's a very good thing. You are only, 24?
24.
Huh? Very good. Very good. So, the level of questions, I guess, will not be so tough. But anyway, so how do you think your interaction with us went today?
I think it was okay.
Any place that you think you scored particularly very well?
Like not very well, but some areas that I was lacking in, like in the seismic implementation of the codes, that could be better understood and read about what are the major details, and the geology aspect. These are the things that I need to brush up.
No, you did very well. And so, like the birding, you did beautifully. But as a general suggestion, we have a couple of things we discussed amongst ourselves. First is you must come to the point.
Okay.
You must think before replying. You don't try to say everything you know. You don't try to attempt every question, whether you know it or not.
Okay.
So it's not a test of knowledge per se, but knowledge that you should be knowing, but more to test your personality, right? So your DAF and current affairs, etc. is important. It's not expected you know 10 out of 10.
Okay.
So therefore, things you're not sure of, like saturation, etc., don't say it.
Okay.
Say, I'm sorry, I'll have to read up more. Don't hesitate to say that.
Okay.
And what you know, think, prioritize in your mind, and then reply. Like you blurt the first thing out, Rajasthan question. I repeat it from the point of view of Rajasthan. So you have to think what is the most important legislation.
Okay.
So it was a question. Obviously, everyone knows the legislation, but to understand how you can prioritize in your mind, how you understand your state, and how you can prioritize. Okay. Then electric vehicles, same thing. Like you went on the cost list, you had the points. But it's a good idea to say that I would say that there are 5 points involved. Most important is pricing, itna hai, and then after that you forgot the safety aspect altogether, or rather you questioned the safety aspect, which is really undisputed. So you don't have to take to defending everything. It's more to understand your ability to have the pros and cons of a matter. Can you see both sides of a picture? Because as an IAS officer, I should be able to see both sides of the picture and then decide for these reasons, this is the path I choose. Okay, this is what we're looking for. You don't have to defend everything. So electric vehicles, yes. Now earthquake also, yes. It was more, I was testing your common sense and your practical steps, so how your mind goes step by step. So, like for example, yes, there's a seismic code, implement it. How would you implement it? You would first make it public knowledge. Then you would draw up the listing of builders, etc. And then inspections done. Who are the ones who are not following it? Then see what offences there. Give them an opportunity to first correct and rectify. Then after that, say after this cut-off date, we'll take penal action, etc., etc. So steps in your mind. Then CEOs you should have known. Neil Mohan with the news. YouTube has just become recently 2-3 days back.
Okay.
Yeah, you must read the newspapers. You must read. Your post 21st April doesn't make you this thing for not reading papers. You must read the papers because you're expected to be updated on current affairs and on your DAF.
Okay.
Right? A blood diamond. It's current. It's general knowledge. You must read up on what it is. If you're a geologist, you should know. I think then you say your point. Did I say that? Say your point. Like Mishra committee comes later. Okay, Joshiman, this is what I think. And Mishra committee has also said that.
Okay.
If you need to bolster your point with that, right? And be brief, to the point, right? Do you want to add anything, anybody?
I think on the saturation question, you should not have attempted. It was a very wide list. See, it's not a private sector interview where you have to answer each and every question. You can always say, no, sir, when I go home, I'll take a look at this. Okay. No need to answer each and every question.
And listen to the question, like ma'am asked you about most important legislation. So most important is child marriage. Child Marriage Act is there.
Also, it's not a test of how much you know. It is how you can prioritize your knowledge. What is the relevant knowledge that you have? So if you know 20 points, don't start saying 20 points.
Exactly.
You say there are many points, but I'll restrict myself to 4 points or 3 points and say the most important first. Okay. Otherwise, I think you're very, very promising. Okay.
But then you go into a tangential, like Vishakha guideline.
Yeah.
Then harassment at workplace, because it also then goes to there is gender gap in workplace, in private sector, in government. So you will generate a lot of counter questions for yourself. So you have to be aware of them. Okay.
Okay, all the best.
All the
very
best.
best. But you're very most impressive in your birding.
Yeah, right.
It's your passion, obviously.